Hi.
Thank you so much for coming today.
Thank you for having me.
So I know your story, and we met before, and you have a very interesting and beautiful story, something like from the movies, but our audience don't know your story, so I'm not going to tell them. You're going to take us through your journey, but I want to say one thing. Everybody dreams to have the American dream, to live in New York and concrete jungle and Manhattan and Fifth Avenue and all of that, but you left all of that to come here to Dubai. So tell us what brings you here.
Yeah, I never thought in a million years I would move out of New York, let alone move to Dubai, which was a very foreign country to me before, but I fell in love.
Aww.
And
the love brought you here.
So love brought me here, yes. So my husband, I met him in New York, but he was going to school in New York at the time, but he came from here, he grew up here and was coming back here for work. So that's how I ended up here.
And I know this, so I'm gonna go on to ask you, because this is what makes it so interesting. Your husband is of a different ethnicity, culture. Do you want to tell us about that?
So he's Indian. I'm Italian American, had a very American upbringing, and he's Indian and had a very Indian upbringing, but his family moved to Dubai when he was about 5. So they're very much Dubai based. All of his cousins, everyone are here. So it has been interesting assimilating into that culture, and the Indians are such a fun and welcoming culture. The food is so good, the weddings are fun. Like it's a very fun culture to be a part of.
So was it hard for you to adjust into a different culture? Was it a culture shock? Like how did you adjust into that, given that you were born and raised in America and you're from completely different cultures?
There are a lot of differences, but there are also a lot of similarities. So when I first moved here, because my husband and I were dating long distance for several years, so I knew him, and he is as American as they come. Like he seems very American, because he also did his schooling there. But when I came here and we got married, and then I'm introduced to the whole family. It's not just the immediate family, it's the cousins, the aunts, the uncles, everyone. And yes, so it was definitely a culture shock, but a fun one at that, you know. Again, I think the Indian culture is very welcoming to outsiders, and they love, like his mother loves to dress me up in Indian clothes. You know, we love to cook Indian food together, and it's just such a beautiful culture. And of course it was overwhelming at first, but I have the best family in the whole world, so.
That's the best. So what would you say if I were to ask you, like, fill in the blanks, marriage is, like, what is marriage to you?
The first thing that comes up, marriage is love, marriage is fun. It's interesting actually, because in the US I feel like there is this idea that marriage is a ball and chain, and you know, especially in the big cities like New York City and LA, like nobody really wants to get married, everyone's dating, you know, and it's very different. I feel like in Indian culture in particular, weddings are the biggest, most important days of your life. So even Indian boys look forward to their wedding, whereas I feel like in America it's just the girl that's looking forward to the white dress, you know. So that's actually also been interesting. When we were planning our wedding, I was completely chill about everything, and it was my husband and their family that were like, okay, we need to do this, you know, really excited about it. And so yeah, I think that our marriage is just, it's really special, it's fun, like we're best friends, we have fun together, and yeah, it's just a really like loving, nurturing, mutually supportive relationship.
Tell us a little bit about your childhood. Like, take us briefly through childhood. What was it like?
Yeah, so I grew up in New York. I had an older brother and a younger sister, and childhood was fine. I mean, we grew up a very like standard American diet. So I feel like for me, that is what I remember the most is like food. We're also an Italian family, so there was, you know, on the holidays we'd always have these big, you know, the aunts and the uncles and the cousins come over, and we have these big Italian American feasts on the table. And so like food was very much always a part of our life, but it was always more, there was Italian foods, but then there was always a lot of fast food. And that I feel like was kind of definitely what shaped my life now, because we enjoyed eating all this fast food and junk food. But as I got a little bit older, then I started to get all these health problems, and my family, as a whole, a lot of chronic disease and illness. And so that really affected me once I discovered this whole concept of food as medicine, and I drastically changed my diet, my health changed. Then I kind of realized that, my childhood basically put me on the path that I am now. And I'm grateful for it. I wish I didn't eat as much fast food as I did back then, but it worked out in the end, because now, I can help others and teach others the importance of eating real whole foods and not processed foods.
You said something interesting, that you wish you hadn't eaten as much food, or you wish you had lived a different way. What would you say is your biggest regret in life?
I don't like to live with regrets, and there's nothing that, haunts me at night. Because something that I've learned is really important is to find the silver lining in everything. So even when things don't go my way, or things could have been better, or whatever the case is, instead of looking at it as a failure, I try to look at it as a lesson, and what can I learn from it, and move on. So I don't say I have any regrets. The one regret would be I wish I would have eaten healthier as a child, but I didn't know at the time. So,
you didn't know any better.
Yeah. So, and that was what was served, right? And that was what was around. That was also what's in the high school and the elementary school and stuff. So that was just part of the culture. So I didn't know any better. But I would say that is probably the biggest regret.
What does vulnerability mean to you?
Vulnerability just means being open and honest and authentic. I think that in this age of social media, that a lot of things are filtered, and a lot of things are, look perfect, like we were talking about earlier. But behind the surface, things are not perfect, of course. Yeah. So I think vulnerability is just being willing to be open and honest, and, peel away the filter.
So this is exactly why I want to do these talks, to get to know the blogger, the entrepreneur, the influencer behind the page. Because all of our pictures, and mine too, it looks curated and beautiful and filtered, and who is the person behind that blog? And that's the whole purpose and objective of these interviews, to get to know the person. So what is the one thing, tell us more about Maria. What do we not see on your page is beautiful. What do we not see on your blog, your page?
Well, my hair and makeup are usually not done, that's for sure. I'm usually sitting in my apartment in sweatpants, working on the computer. So that's definitely number one. But I think that, also in my field as a health coach and nutritionist, I've been in this for a really long time, and I've been, one of the earlier ones to write a book and reach some level of success. And so I think a lot of other people in the field that are just starting kind of do look to me as kind of on a pedestal in a way, and I'm just no,
But you've been on some really big shows in the States.
Yeah. No, I mean, I've done a lot of press.
I don't want to say, was it Doctors?
Doctors, yes. Yeah, I've been on Dr. Oz. I've gotten a lot of great press.
Yeah.
And yes, I definitely acknowledge I've achieved a level of success in my career that is amazing, but I still feel I have so much more to do. And as an individual, I feel I'm just not far enough, But then when I look back, or when I talk to someone who's just starting out, I'm oh, actually, I've come a really long way. So I guess, in terms of what you don't see, I mean, I just feel like a normal person, and I am, working every day towards my dreams. And I feel maybe even Instagram can sometimes feel things are just happy in the kitchen all the time, but there's so much other work that goes on behind the scenes, like on the computer, administrative stuff. Like there's, as you know, like there's so many other little things that you don't see on Instagram that it takes to run a business. And so I'm usually doing a lot of those things.
So talking about career, if somebody came to you and said, you can have whatever career you want, you can be whatever you want, you don't have to, like, just a genie, what would you be?
I would totally want to be like Beyonce. I would be a singer, entertainer.
No way.
That would be like, that would be my dream. Yeah.
That's amazing.
So when I was growing up, I was very interested in dance. So I went to dance school like for hours after school, like 2-3 hours a day. In the summer, I did dance camps where it would be 8 hours a day of just dance.
I've seen a few videos of you dancing, and you're good.
So that is, I initially, when I was growing up, I initially thought I would be like a backup dancer. I wanted to be like Britney Spears' backup dancer. That was my life goal. And then my grandma, one day, at Christmas or something, she's like, oh, when you grow up, what do you want to be? And I said, oh, I want to be Britney Spears' backup dancer. And she's like, honey, you don't want to be anyone's backup anything. And I was like, yes, Grandma, you're right.
Would you say that was the best piece of advice you
Definitely, yes, definitely one of them. And it's interesting now, right? Because when I first left college, I was working, for someone else, but that only lasted a few years, and then I really just broke out on my own and went for my own thing. So yes, I think that was, it still stays with me to this day.
Yeah.
So,
what advice would you give your younger self?
Just go for it sooner. Like, I think if we're talking of any sort of regrets, I think it's just like sometimes I think about things too much before I actually do them. So it would just be to like go 100%. Like if you're interested in something, just go for it right away. Take the class or, do whatever you have to do to like go all in. If it doesn't work out, okay, it doesn't work out. You go your other way, but don't think about it for 6 months and then try it and, put half the toe in and then it's like 12 months later and then it's like 2 years later you decide, oh, this is not for me. Like just go all in at first.
Who inspires you?
Strong female entrepreneurs inspire me. I think it's really important to be self-sufficient. So, anyone from my friend Lily, who is a fitness YouTuber and has an incredible business, she inspires me. People like Beyonce inspire me. Or really just any woman that is, building a business and, just taking control of her life and her finances.
What's your biggest pet peeve on social media?
My biggest pet peeve is just all the filters. Like I actually never use a filter. I mean, I've used a filter a few times to like turn my hair pink, and it was actually funny because some of my friend, messaged me. She's like, you did not turn, like she was mad at me that I dyed my hair pink. I'm like, no, it's a filter. But yeah, just all the filtering. And I do think, and I've talked about this a lot on my podcast, what I find really interesting is that we're so used to seeing filters that now it has become common for people to get plastic surgery to look like they're filters. And I feel like there's this weird like mind games, going on now, and especially the younger generation, like that have to grow up in all this filtered and filled society, and I feel like it sends the wrong message. And I think it's really important that we I look in the mirror sometimes, I'm like, oh God, like I wish I looked like a filter, but and then I just move on. I'm like, you know what, I'm beautiful. Like I actually, interestingly, I started doing face massage or like face yoga a couple years ago, and you have to kind of sit in the mirror, and like massage, and like, you know what, the freckles that I didn't like before, actually they're really cute. Or
people actually get them done now.
Yeah, I know. Or the eyebrows, when I was growing up, thick eyebrows were not a thing. And so I had these huge eyebrows, so I'm sure I got made fun of, and like I didn't like them, but my mom was like, no, do not, you can't pluck your eyebrows. And so thankfully I left them, now they're cool. People are putting them on, right? So I think it's just really important that we forget what society tells us beautiful, and just like understand that we don't need to fit into any box or look like what everybody else looks like in order to be beautiful.
So do you believe in plastic surgery or enhancements?
I think people can do whatever they want. I think that's totally up to them. I wouldn't do it personally. I mean, at this point,
have you got anything done?
No. And my life has taken a very interesting path, right? Because I am very much into like holistic nutrition and health and wellness and all this stuff. And it all started because I had so many health problems. And I will say when I was younger, it was very, like, it was an in thing to do, and they talked about it in all the celebrity magazines, was to shoot Botox into your armpits to stop you from sweating.
Yeah.
So around my prom time, they're saying, oh, the celebrities are doing this, blah, blah, blah. So I'm like, oh, I don't want to sweat in my dress. Let me do it. So I did it. And long story short, like, I can't say it's exactly, but like I had developed this like scar tissue, which is still here to this day, like right next to the injection site. It didn't stop my sweating, by the way. And I developed like an autoimmune condition that creates scar tissue.
That?
Yes. Wow. And so like that's when I started to kind of do more research, because I didn't even know that was like a potential like possibility. I didn't even realize there were side effects. I was so young. And so that's what also got me looking into, you know, Western medicine versus holistic medicine and Eastern medicine, realizing that any of this stuff that we're doing doesn't come like free, and there's always some potential and some risk. So that's why also I would never do like Botox. I mean, look, if it was green juice or something, I'd probably shoot it in there, but I don't want the side effects.
But would you say like never, or you could?
I personally, from a health perspective, would never do it. But I mean, I have many friends that do it, and you know, more power to them. And like, look, I acknowledge that. Like someone like the Kardashians, like they've completely remade their, I love the Kardashians, they've completely remade their face, and they are absolutely gorgeous, but I just feel like I wouldn't be able to do that.
If you were to be any one of the Kardashians from that family, who would you be?
I would say Kim.
Why?
Kim. I don't know, she's just such like a badass, you know, she's in law school now, like she wants to do something, she does it. Yeah, I think she just goes for whatever it is that she wants to do, and she does it. So I really admire that.
Great. My final question, do you believe in God or a higher power?
I do. I was raised Catholic. I don't really practice any religion at the moment, but I definitely think that there is some higher power, and I definitely believe in karma and all of that. I just, don't do it in like an organized religion way.
Prayer or meditation?
Ooh. I probably meditate more than, I kind of mix the two, to be honest. I don't know. I do meditate. I meditate more intentionally, but it's like I definitely pray as well.
Do you think there's a difference between the two, or? I think meditation is, prayer is communicating to God, with God, and meditation is God communicating to you.
That's so beautiful.
That's how I look at it. So it's two different things.
Yeah, two different things, but I feel like I also, like sometimes at the end of my meditation, I'll finish with like a little prayer, you know? I think it's all kind of connected.
Yeah. I said the previous question was my last one, but this is going to be my last one. The last 2 years have been very challenging for all of us. Everybody's like life and perspective has changed. How has the last 2 years changed your perspective on life?
I think it's made me, first of all, grateful for everything that I have and where I am. I'm also very grateful to be in Dubai versus anywhere else during this time. And I think it just has also made me value relationships more and stay in touch with friends and family more, and really take the time to nourish those things, because I think it's also taught us that things can change like at any moment. And the last thing I'll say also is it has prompted me to again, if I want to do something, okay, I'm going to do it, because who knows what's going to happen next week, and you might not be able to do it. So just taking action right away.
Thank you so much for coming today and sharing your story with us.
Thank you for having me.